A fantastic NXT, which began with a banger of a match and ended with a banger of a match. We're going to get into it in just a second, so stay tuned. This is the NXT review. What's up, Maniacs? My name is Mex. I'm a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast, a WrestleManiac, if you will. And today we are talking about NXT. Now, I haven't done a couple of NXT reviews for the last few weeks, if you've noticed, just because of NXT moving to Tuesdays. I hadn't adjusted my schedule in time, but we are back with the NXT reviews. And what a show to come back to review. Absolute banger. This is like NXT of old, NXT of 2016, 17, 18, that period. This was a really good episode, on TV. So good. We're going to dissect everything that happened in just a second. So I hope you stick around for it. And in case you didn't know, right here at WrestleManiac UK, I discuss everything that's WWE and AEW. So if this sounds like the place for you, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notified each and every time I drop a new video. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into it. NXT review. So the show opened up with the blood feud match, Falls Count Anywhere, Leon Ruff versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. And right from the beginning, Leon Ruff was like a dog in his cage that was just waiting to be released, and they played it really well. The referee was holding him back at parts, and Swerve was just taking his sweet time to take off his jacket and all of that kind of stuff. And the minute the bell rang, Leon Ruff ran straight into Swerve, and Swerve literally just turned around, put his knee up, Leon Ruff straight into Swerve Scott's knee. Very smart. It looks like Leon Ruff is about to ambush him and all that kind of stuff, and it just wasn't the case. And a lot of the early part of this match, we just saw Swerve Scott dissecting Leon Ruff, just, making him look amateur in some senses. And he fought from underneath, as they say. He was the underdog, Leon Ruff, but he came with it a lot of the times. We saw a massive Hurricane Runner from the apron to the outside onto Swerve Scott. And just towards the end of the match, he was really picking up steam. Again, he threw Swerve Scott into the, how can I describe it, where the hard camera is, that side of the crowd. Jumped the barricade. He went through like some little backstage bit to kind of get on a ladder, some kind of propelled stage to jump onto Swerve Scott, when all of a sudden we saw him be caught by, I think the guy's name was AJ Francis. Now, we've seen these vignettes of Swerve in the studio with a couple of guys, a couple of girls and stuff like that. And it just looks like they're making music together. We've never kind of put it together as some type of faction or anything like that. But the faction showed up today because this big guy, AJ Francis, caught Leon Ruff. We saw, I can't remember the girl's name. We have seen her in and around NXT and Raw Underground and stuff before. And then is it Shante the Adonis? These guys are all part of Swerve's crew. AJ Francis, like I was saying, caught Leon Ruff mid-air and literally gave him like a fireman's carry kind of FU kind of move, AA, onto the ring barricade area. And he popped up after that, was rolled into the ring by Swerve Scott. Swerve Scott applied his finisher, and Swerve Scott, I guess, wins the feud. I guess Leon Ruff might, want some revenge still, but to be honest, I feel like this was pretty definitive. Swerve Scott has now got a really kind of credible looking act behind him. I know this is still very early days in terms of us seeing them, and none of them really are established in NXT or anything like that. Ashante the Adonis is probably someone that we've seen most out of all of these guys. But yeah, Swerve Scott has now got that backing, which his character may just need to take him to the next level, to give him, cruiserweight gold or North American Championship gold. I'm looking forward to this. And I have to admit, Swerve has turned me around. I never doubted his in-ring ability. The character stuff is just more of what I didn't get, but I really do like this. Looking forward to seeing what they do with these guys. But yeah, unfortunately, despite a really gutsy performance, Leon Ruff couldn't pull it out of the bag, and Swerve got the win here. Fantastic start to the night. Go and watch this match, if anything. If you haven't, this is one of the matches of the week. that we're going to talk about. So yeah, go and watch this match. But next up on the show, we had a bit of a squash match, if you like. Cameron Grimes versus Asher Hale. I haven't seen this guy Asher Hale on NXT TV before. So yeah, it was just a bit of a solid squash match. Asher Hale kind of got his stuff in, but we saw Cameron Grimes obviously hit the cave in, got the win. He went backstage where Everrise were, and Everrise wanted him to, I think, collab with him on their show or something like that. He said no, he's going to the VIP lounge, he's going to the club to celebrate his win. And the punch, as they have been doing, you know, I'll just get to it. It happened later on in the night, but I'll just get to it now. As he got to the club, he had rented out a booth. He said there was no booth for him because Ted DiBiase had bought out the entire club. Why buy a booth when you can buy the entire club? Got the laugh and everything. So Ted DiBiase continues to be a thorn in the side of Cameron Grimes. So yeah, some decent stuff there that they're telling with Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase. Next up on the show, we had Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher versus GYV, the Grizzled Young Veterans. There wasn't a lot of story coming into this match. Obviously, we know they clashed last week, and shoes off if you hate Gibson and all of that kind of stuff. But this was what they never had in terms of story. They gave us in terms of physicality, as you can imagine, with the guys in the ring. Ciampa started the match with Zach Gibson. Zach Gibson tagged in James Drake eventually. But once Timothy Thatcher came into this match, I'm not actually sure Ciampa got tagged back in. Like, this was the Timothy Thatcher show, and I think this was a great showing for him. Obviously, someone we haven't seen in the ring for quite a while now, quite a few weeks. We haven't seen him kind of turn up and do his thing. Timothy Thatcher was fantastic. When it comes to the technical stuff, when it comes to the submission stuff, this guy is fantastic. And he really put on a show, in my opinion, in this match. And we had Ciampa and the other tag partners doing stuff in the background. But when it came to the in-ring stuff, the actual match stuff, Timothy Thatcher really carried this, in my opinion. And what was how we got to the ending, there was a bit of a kerfuffle by the announcer's desk. Now, we heard Wade Barrett say somehow in the kerfuffle he's lost his shoe. Didn't think much of it at the time. We saw Ciampa roll the shoe into the ring. Timothy Thatcher used the back of this size 15 shoe to hit Zach Gibson, threw it out the ring, applied a Fujiwara armbar to Zach Gibson, and that's how they got the win. And I guess the irony comes where we know Wade Barrett is a big GYV fan, and you know he loves Zach Gibson and stuff like that. And where everyone sings, you know, shoes off if you hate Gibson, he was being poked fun at by Vic as to why were your shoes off, you know. So yeah, a nice little bit of story there. But like I said, Timothy Thatcher, MVP of this particular match, hit Zach Gibson over the head with the shoe. Fujiwara armbar for the win. So yeah, really, really good match there. GG up in the chat. Thanks for joining, bro. He says smoke break at work. He had to check in. Yeah. If you're not watching NXT GG, this was a really good episode for you to watch, honestly. Like, the main event and the opening was amazing. Really, really good show. So yeah, I'm happy. Like, I haven't done NXT reviews in some time, in maybe about 3 weeks now. So happy to come back to this show because it was really good. However, I must say this this next segment, it wasn't the strongest. It was a bit of a letdown, to be completely honest. So we had Johnny Gargano backstage. He interrupted a meeting where William Regal was having a chat with Scarlett Bordeaux. And Austin Theory Austin Theory made a comment. He was looking down at Scarlett Bordeaux saying, oh my gosh, they're so big. Scarlett Bordeaux is obviously wearing one of her provocative outfits, that goes without saying. Austin Theory said, oh my god, they're so big, are they real? Like, I can't believe this, blah blah blah. And obviously everyone's thinking that he's talking about her boobs. he was referring to her nails, her claws at the end of her gloves. So they played their way out of that one. But Scarlett Bordeaux's demanded a match with Karrion Kross and Austin Theory next week, which we're going to get, which kind of played into this segment. Now, what we did see was Karrion Kross come out to the ring, and he kind of said, he's not afraid of anybody. He will take on anybody. And we saw cool Kyle O'Reilly come out and say, likewise, I'm not scared of you. You've got something I want. And he kind of, made his case as to why he should be the next challenger for the NXT Championship. We then saw Pete Dunne come out. I don't care what you have to say to Kyle O'Reilly. I don't care. You've got the championship to Karrion Kross. Yeah, he didn't actually lay down a challenge. Now that I think about it, he just said that he doesn't care about what's going on here in the ring and stuff like that, that he's the toughest, the baddest man in NXT. And then we saw the return of Finn Balor, who we haven't seen since NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. He's been away in Mexico with his missus. He is back on the show now, and he basically came out and said, Kyle O'Reilly, I've done that. I've beaten you twice. Pete Dunne, I've done that. Karrion Kross, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. I don't even know if he finished his sentence. I think he said, once you're finished with all the talking and once you're finished with Kyle O'Reilly, and he basically just jumped him. So Finn Balor jumped Karrion Kross. We saw the other guys, Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly, try to get involved, but Karrion Kross at this point basically cleared ring. He made an example of all of these guys, and Karrion Kross being this massive body, this big guy, taking out these smaller guys. Let's be honest, Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, Finn Balor. It didn't look good for these future challengers to this title, because all of these guys are much smaller than Karrion Kross. So yeah, that is a bit of a visual concern. And just as it couldn't get any worse, and as he thought he had cleared the ring of these guys, we saw Johnny Gargano, the smallest of them all, run into the ring and lay an attack alongside Austin Theory with against Karrion Kross. Now, Karrion Kross did get overrun by the two of them, Austin Theory and Johnny Gargano, but yeah, it's a bit of a mess in terms of who's next for this challenge at the NXT Championship. Obviously, like I said, we've got Austin Theory versus Karrion Kross next week. We'll expect that to be a Karrion Kross win. But Johnny Gargano kind of laying a bit of a vicious attack on Karrion Kross. Obviously, he's a North American champion. He's not finished with Bronson Reed, and now he's kind of opened up a next can of worms. So yeah, like I said, the segment wasn't really good because we didn't really get an answer as to who is next. And no one's argument was really strong enough. And yeah, it was just a bit of a mess. But I guess we can see the picture of who's going to be involved in the NXT title scene. Gigi just saying here that he's going to be on it later. He's very intrigued by the women's match. Yeah, it was a banger. It was an absolute banger of a match, that women's tag match. But we did get some women's action before the tag match in the main event. It was Sarray versus Zayda Ramir. So we obviously saw Zayda Ramir last week triumph over Toni Storm, and they've played that up big on the socials, on the WWE.com, backstage interviews, all of that kind of stuff. They played that up massive, which is a massive thing. And obviously Sarray is the big free agent that's come over and signed from the Far East. So both of these women won their debut singles matches, and now they were going to meet in this ring. And there's a lot of respect shown before the match. But if we're all honest with ourselves, it was kind of obvious that Sarray was going to win. And despite Ramir getting in quite a lot of strikes early on, punches, kicks, and making an impact on Sarray, we saw like a STF locked in from Zayda Ramir, which was really impressive. But Sarray kind of crawled to the ropes. From there, Sarray just kind of took the lead. German suplexes and hit with a Saito suplex for the win. So yeah, really good to see Zayda Ramir kind of get put in this kind of prominent position against someone they clearly rate. But yeah, Sarray got the win. Now, for me, I'm it's very easy to bring over these Joshi wrestlers or the wrestlers from the Far East and kind of give them a big name. And I don't want to compare because it's not fair, but I don't see Saray as like, for me, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Io Shirai, those are a different level to what we're seeing with Saray. And they are trying to, in my opinion, put Saray in and amongst those great names that they've brought in from the Far East. And from what I have seen, yes, it is only 2 matches. She isn't any of those 3. She's not them three's caliber, in my opinion. But I will reserve my judgment, for later on and see if Saray really does develop into what they are making out that she is. But yeah, 2 wins out of 2. That's all that she can do at this point. We saw backstage after the match, she was kind of showing some respect to Zayda Ramir. We saw Toni Storm kind of walk out of nowhere to look to make an attack on Zayda Ramir, who obviously beat her last week. Zoe Starks comes to the rescue, kind of chases off Toni Storm, and Toni Storm did cut a promo afterwards saying that, Zoe Stark, you're getting in my way, your flavor of the month, and the flavor's running out, and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm liking what's happening here. They're telling stories away from the title, away from the women's tag division. They're still managing to tell good, interesting stories, and that is all you can ask for. It's not just about the title picture and everyone else burns. So, yeah, really, really good stuff going on so far in the women's division in NXT. But we're gonna get to that banger of a tag championship match in just a second. Before we continue with the review, guys, please make sure you hit the like button, give us a thumbs up. It's thoroughly appreciated every time you do, and it does loads for the channel, shows this video to more and more people that love wrestling like you and me. So in case you haven't done it already, please hit the thumbs up button. Next up on the show, we had LA Knight versus Jake Atlas. Putting over Jake Atlas would have been maybe the right thing to do, but LA Knight wasn't here to do that. Mocked Jake Atlas before the match, saying that he's going to give his name a whole new meaning because he's going to kick his ass so hard. He's going to have to find an Atlas to use an Atlas, to find his ass. It's a fact of life and all of that kind of stuff. This guy just amuses me every time he comes out. I'm not interested in his matches at all. Yeah, I can't lie, I'm not interested in his matches at all. But once it comes to cutting the promo on the mic and stuff, like he's gripping me. Like he is gripping me. Like, so we saw a quick kind of decent match between LA Knight and Jake Atlas. Nothing really special. And like I say, LA Knight didn't come here to put him over. LA Knight got the win. And then we had a couple of promo packages on the night. So we'll start with the one that happened in the women's division. Raquel Gonzalez and Mercedes Martinez building towards their championship match next week. They had those side-by-side interviews they often do on the main roster. That's what they did here. Pretty decent. Raquel Gonzalez said why she's the baddest woman in NXT. Mercedes Martinez went on about how if it wasn't for people like me scratching and clawing, paving the way for you, there would be no you. I set the bar and all of this kind of stuff. And from what I could hear in the studio, that the crowd was really behind what Mercedes Martinez was saying. And obviously, yes, Mercedes Martinez has a ton of experience. She has been up and down these roads and really took her time to make it to the big time in terms of NXT or WWE, if you like. So, yeah, everything she's spitting is absolute facts. And it did seem to rattle Raquel Gonzalez a bit, but Raquel Gonzalez came back and saying, well, you set the bar here. I've taken the bar with one hand and I'm setting it all the way up here. And yeah, she just really went on about how she's going to defeat Mercedes Martinez next week on NXT. So that should be a pretty decent championship match. I believe that Mercedes Martinez will be her first challenger since she became champion. So this should be good. This should be good. And later on in the ring, we had a Legado del Fantasma promo where Escobar was talking a lot about legacy and heritage, and he's the first unified or undisputed cruiserweight champion and stuff like that. And then the other guy stood forward, Joaquin Wild, Raul Mendoza, and they laid the gauntlet out to MSK, saying, you beat us at Stand and Deliver, but it wasn't actually us you pinned. You won the match, but you didn't pin us. So, you know, and we beat you last week in the six-way match, I think it was, the 6-man tag match. So they've basically challenged MSK to a tag team championship match. And just as Escobar was kind of getting back on the mic, we saw Kushida pop up on the Titron, and Kushida, you know, said that he's had enough of Escobar making noise about how he was a champion, this, that, and the other. The disrespect in the match last week, where Kushida tagged with MSK and lost to Legado del Fantasma, and now he's offering Escobar a match for the Cruiserweight Championship next week on the show. And obviously Escobar accepted. So that's going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match for the Cruiserweight Championship, which should be very, very interesting. So yeah, I don't know if they're trying to set up Legado del Fantasma with all the gold. I've been wanting to see that. So I'm invested in what's gonna happen. But yeah, 2 kind of strong promo segments that were just to move stories along. You know, it's good. It was enough to kind of tell those stories. But here it is, guys, the main event, what we've come here for, the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship on the line in a street fight. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon versus the Ways, Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell. And guys, this match was a banger from the moment go. Like, it was absolutely crazy. Shotzi Blackheart is just a mad woman, but her madness was it was replicated by the likes of Candice LeRae, by the likes of Indi Hartwell. We saw Candice LeRae lying on a ladder from the, I think, the barricade to the ring, and then we saw a senton by Shotzi Blackheart onto Candice LeRae. Semi broke the ladder. We saw Ember Moon attempt to put Indi Hartwell through a table, and Indi Hartwell just bounced off the table that was stacked up in the corner. Later on, we saw Shotzi Blackheart again lie Indi Hartwell on the announcer's table. She climbed up some scaffolding thing that was ringside and done a splash from there onto Indi Hartwell through the table. What happened to Ember Moon was on the table outside the ring, and Indi Hartwell, literally, this is after she had just been put through a table, ran through the ring, jumped up on the, you know, springboarded from the top rope and done an elbow drop to Ember Moon through that table on the outside. And that's where we got to the finish, where Candice LeRae hit Shotzi Blackheart with a knuckle dusters, hit her, put her on the ground, pulled the chair into sight, and then she done, I think, what's just the move called? I think it's something the widow is something. The Wicked Stepsister, I think, yeah, Wicked Stepsister. She done that onto the chair, pinned Shotzi Blackheart, and the ladies from the way, Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell, are the new tag team champions, the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. A phenomenal match. I tried to truncate it so you get the main spots, but literally this was spot after spot after spot after spot after spot. No time for selling, no time for real storytelling. Like, it was just a very memorable match, and to be completely honest to you, one of the best TV NXT matches I have seen ever. This was a really, really good match. I implore you, go and watch this match if you haven't seen any match from NXT this week. This is what you want to go and watch. Great match. Very happy for those ladies. This was the 3rd attempt at them going after Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart for these championships. So definitely about time that they've done it and they've won it, and adds more gold to the way and everything they're doing. So yeah, really, really good stuff, guys. That was NXT, a banger of an episode. Like I said, we had so many good matches. The main event, we had you know, like I said, Timothy Thatcher and Zach Gibson and Tommaso Ciampa and James Drake in that tag match. We had good action between Zayda Ramir and Saray. The opening match between Swerve and Leon Ruff, just really, really strong showing. And NXT reviews are back, man. is back. Give us this kind of show every week, and we will enjoy it. We'll love it. Glad to be back. But yeah, let me know what you think around the NXT title picture. It was a bit muddled. Who do you think should be the next challenger to Karrion Kross's NXT championship? I'd love to hear some names down below in the comments. Guys, if you haven't already, give us a big thumbs up on this video. Make sure if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get notified each and every time I drop a new video. And I will see you in the next one. WrestleManiac UK signing out, and I'll see you soon.